Welcome to episode 1 of our third series on the surnames and early families of Appalachia and, of course, the American South. Today's names will take us back to France, Ireland, Scotland, and England. We'll also look into the family tree of a very famous actor who surprisingly has an Appalachian connection. I was surprised. If you're new to the channel, I mix in a bit of history, genealogy, and trivia along with the origin and meaning of requested surnames. My main goal is to identify families that have been in the southern United States since before the Civil War. If you're my age or older, there's a good chance that you know where your recent ancestors originated. Here's a sad fact to consider though, folks. It's commonly believed that within 4 generations, meaning your great-grandchildren's generation, a family's personal stories and names are likely to be significantly faded or forgotten, with details becoming less readily accessible as time passes. This series is dedicated to the memories of our ancestors. By the way, if you'd like a free copy of the surname catalog that lists the names and episodes that have been covered thus far, stick around to the end to find out how you can get one. It's just an email away. It promises to be a good show, so I hope you'll join me. Let's get started. Numbers 1 and 2. I'm putting them together because they share apparently a common origin. Laird and Lord. Linguistically speaking, Lord is an English surname for a patron, master, or a nickname for a servant of a master or lord. Laird appears to be its Scottish equivalent, but George Fraser Black says it means landlord, as in the owner of land and houses for which residents paid labor and later money rent to occupy. Laird has been in the Scottish records since around 1257, so it's part of the lexicon of the feudal days when lairds and peasants lived across the lowlands of Scotland. In Northern Ireland, Laird is a recent arrival from Scotland. On the Emerald Isle, Lord is regarded as an English nickname and is mostly found in the Dublin area known as the Pale. In the first United States Census, which was taken in 1790, there were more than 20 families named Laird in Pennsylvania. However, Laird family members were in Pennsylvania as early as 1720, when Lodwick Laird, which sounds almost German, was born. Like the Boones and many other families that first settled in Pennsylvania, members of the Laird family, like Lodwick and his wife Elizabeth Buchanan Laird, her married name, relocated to the Carolinas. Adam Laird Sr. was born in Barnwell, South Carolina in 1760. He and his wife Lucretia had a house full of young'uns. How many is a house full? Well, in this case, at least 10. One of the earliest members of the Lord family was named Francis Lord II. He was born in Somerset County, Maryland in 1679. His father was born in Connecticut in 1649. Members of the Lord family moved south where William Lord Jr. was born in 1784. At the end of the day, I'm confident that these antebellum families were of Irish, English, or Scottish origin. Number 3, Morrison. I grew up watching westerns and dramas centered around the fictitious work of an Irish-American cop, or cops, like Brannigan and McHugh. Some of you are probably going to know exactly who I'm talking about right now. Those movies had one thing in common. They starred a fellow who was born in Winterset, Iowa, another big hint. His name was Marion Michael or Marion Robert Morrison, and I've even seen Marion Mitchell Morrison, there's a lot of confusion about his middle name out there, who went by the stage name of John Wayne. One of my favorite movies of his was the 1952 Going Home film, The Quiet Man. In it, Wayne plays an Irish-born American boxer named Sean Trooper Thornton. But was his paternal line Irish? Well, we'll answer that question in just a second. But I can say up front that the Morrison surname is found in Ireland, but it's either Anglo or Anglo-Irish or Scottish. It meant the son of Maurice in English, or in Scottish Gaelic. In Gaelic, it meant the son of the servant or disciple of Mary, obviously a Catholic name. I should point out that Wayne shared a passion for Ireland with John Ford, the director who made him famous in the 1939 movie Stagecoach. Wayne and Ford made 14 movies together, including The Quiet Man. According to Adelaide McKinnon lore, 3 Morrison brothers named Robert, John, and James immigrated from the Isle of Lewis, which is part of the Hebrides in Scotland. They settled for a short time in Pennsylvania, and like the Lairds we just discussed, they migrated to North Carolina. James Morrison, born in 1726, died in 1804, married Janet Morrison, who was most likely a relative. They got hitched in Scotland in 1757. They had 10 children between 1758 and 1779, and I suppose that they all turned out to be quite healthy. During those years, the family migrated from Pennsylvania to North Carolina, like the others that we've discussed. Their descendants live in North Carolina today, as well as Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Arkansas, and no doubt Oklahoma and Texas. Robert Morrison, born in 1728, died in 1810, and John were Revolutionary War soldiers. Robert and his wife, Sarah, were married in Pennsylvania in 1755. They had 11 children between 1756 and 1779. By 1771, the family lived in North Carolina, and some of their descendants still live in North Carolina, but others have moved west to Tennessee, Alabama, and elsewhere. John was killed in the American Revolution, so not much is known about him. If you'd like to learn more about these particular lines, check out Adelaide McKinnon Laurie's, The Morrison Family of Rocky River Settlement of North Carolina, History and Genealogy. It was published in 1950. I'm circling back to the actor John Wayne for just a second because he had an Appalachian connection. Although he was not related to the folks from Pennsylvania and North Carolina that we just discussed, at least I don't know of any connections that he had to them. His great-great-grandfather immigrated from County Antrim in Northern Ireland and lived for a while in New York. But he moved to the Appalachian region in Adams County, Ohio. That's right there on the Ohio River, right across the river from Kentucky, where at least 2 generations of the actor's family lived before Wayne's line relocated first to Iowa and then to California. At the end of the day, John Wayne did have a paternal Irish connection. His double great-grandmother was a McGowan, which could be native Irish or of Scottish Gaelic origin. No wonder in The Quiet Man he's sort of torn between the Protestants and the Catholics in a very, very humorous sort of way, which is kind of cute. Unfortunately, in reality, it wasn't that cute in the 1950s. The troubles were going on then. It looks like a lion's share of the Morrisons in Appalachia and the South are of Scottish or Northern Irish origin. Number 4, Gilstrap, Gilsthorpe, Giltrap, and Gilstrap, and Gilthorpe. Anyway, these names seem to point to one place of origin, and that's North Yorkshire, England. So it's a toponomic name. Gilstrap and Giltrap are found in the Dublin-Wexford area of Ireland, in other words, southeastern Ireland. Edmund McLysack agrees with Henry Harrison in regard to its English origin and meaning, so it's found in Ireland as well as in England. I wasn't able to locate it among the traditional surnames of Scotland, so I'm confident that it's an Anglo-Irish or English family name. But is it an antebellum Appalachian or Southern name? Yes, indeed it is. Peter Gilstrap Sr. was born in Somerset, Maryland in 1736, but he eventually relocated to Burke County, Georgia. It's on the South Carolina border, I should say. Along the way, he married Eve Chance in Craven County, North Carolina. They had at least 9 youngins. Wow, these families, well, that was not uncommon, folks, if you think about it. My grandparents both came from families, all my grandparents came from families with at least 10 kids. I'm not sure how many of their kids were born in North Carolina, though, but it seems that most of them passed away in Georgia. Number 5, Canon, or Canon. When I received this request, I immediately recalled a 1970s TV show called Canon. It was a crime drama that starred William Conrad. He was a rather robust individual. I also recalled I also recalled Diane Cannon, an actress who co-starred with Willie Nelson in the 1980 musical drama called Honeysuckle Rose. It wasn't a good outing for good old Willie in that particular movie. He probably was smoking a little bit too much dope. He just seemed stoic and kind of frigid, if you know what I mean. While it's a common name, I've never really known a person named Canon in my life, so I can only relate to television cinematic images. In looking into its roots, I found that it has 2 origins and 3 meanings. One origin is Anglo-Latin based and referred to a church dignitary or a high-ranking official, so it has a long history in England. It doesn't mean a person who shoots a cannon, though. It could also come from Ireland, where in Gaelic it appeared as which basically is cano, which is the same thing as our Gaelic word for wolf cub. Henry Harrison also adds another Irish Gaelic meaning for Canon, white-headed. I found Canon and Canon spelling variations among the surnames of Scotland, where George Fraser Black says its origin is Irish for wolf cub, so there's some agreement there. Nonetheless, it's found in the Scottish records dating back to 1562. Despite me not having met a person named Canon, they have a solid presence in the South and even in Appalachia, and I even have an ancestor that I found out just recently that is a Canon, but I didn't know any of them. One of the early matriarchs of the Brooks family of Claiborne County, just up the street here, or up the road I should say, in Tennessee, was Elizabeth Canon. She was born in 1818 and died in 1887. She was married to John Brooks. The Brooks family is still very much present in Claiborne County. Going back further in time, I found that John Canon was born in Maryland in 1712. He fathered a line that relocated to Newberry, South Carolina. At the end of the day, I think there's a good chance that folks descending from the Canon family in the South is most likely of Irish origin because of the multiple Gaelic names that were anglicized to Canon. Still, your paper trail might just lead you to England or Scotland. Well, gang, that's about all I have for you today. I hope you got something meaningful out of the discussion and will join me again here on the Vantage Point. If you'd like a free copy of a list of names that we've covered thus far, write to me at vantagepoint22.com, vantagepoint22@gmail.com. Let me finish that address out. Until we meet again, God bless you and yours. Bye-bye.